And welcome to our first WEP Alumni Spotlight. And no better way to start this series than with some WEP alumni that are still working here. And so we've got a few of them on with us today. And I'm really looking forward to this series, guys. Not only just because of you guys talking today, but we'll be talking to some folks that have come through the program and kind of catch up with them, see what they're doing now. And I know I'm excited to hear from a bunch of those folks, but we'll start with you guys, War Eagle, and welcome.
War Eagle, what I'm hearing is you're not excited to talk to us and you're more excited to talk to other people.
Oh, 100%. That's what I'm hearing. As long as you know that, Carter.
That's what I'm hearing.
We should be good. We'll kind of get started, though. We'll go around the room a little bit. Jake, we'll start with you. And what are you doing currently, and kind of how did you get started with WEP?
So at WEP, I'm a producer of live operations. I help produce the football video board, and then I produce a little bit for our digital SEC network broadcasts, AP, a little bit of that. So how I got started, I actually came to Auburn for radio, but going into fall of 2014, I got an email from the College of Liberal Arts, and they said, hey, they're offering like a sports production class. You'll get to work with SEC Network and all this. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, why not? And went to the class. You had to observe 7 events in that semester. And then after that 7 events, for whatever reason, I said, hey, can I observe some more? And then I got started December of 2014. I gripped a little bit. I found out gripping was not for me, and I got in the control room and learned expression. And then from then on, it's been expression, then worked my way up to AP and producer.
So after your 42 weeks of observing, you figured, this is something I might want to do for a career.
I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and give it a shot.
Perfect. Blake, we'll go to you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Blake Leach. I got my start actually in 2011. Started with a group before War Eagle Productions. It was called AUHD. I got started by I got lucky and knew a couple people that were in the program because they didn't advertise that it was a thing you could do. And I just kept asking around and finally got my start with them. And then I joked that I graduated but never left. So I started when War Eagle Productions started up. I've done pretty much every position you can do here. I love doing all the stuff on the live side, post a little bit of everything. So definitely a good time.
So we got someone that has observed 42 weeks and then still wanted to stay on. And then someone before War Eagle Productions even going.
It's been here for 42 years.
Yeah. Well, Carter, since you spoke up, we'll have you next. What do you do here?
Never. Let's see. I'm Carter. I am the football video lead here, as well as men's tennis. So I do all social video content for them. It's a good time. Previously did men's basketball as well. I got started here because, frankly, I was looking for equipment. I was wanting to find a job to work around football and just get cool stuff. And I stumbled upon this production group that does video stuff. I'm like, I like taking pictures and recording stuff. I'm good at that. I'll just work with them. And then the rest is kind of history. Found out that I could actually make money and make it a career, and just kind of kept on rolling with it, kept on growing. And here I am. But yeah, I was just looking for a job really when I was a student. I was like, I just like sports. I like football. Let's see what I could do to be around them as much. And then I found Andy's email and here I am.
So, observed for 42 weeks, worked here for 42 years. I just stumbled across it, and
I really did. I was like, hey, where can I get a job? I don't know who's hiring in athletics. I don't care. I'll work anywhere. And someone gave me, it's like, this is a group called War Eagle Productions. You might be interested. Here's an email. And then Blake interviewed me. So.
Well, Daniel, you got some big stories there to follow. How did you get started with?
I know mine's nothing compared to that. No, I started it here in 2014. I'm Daniel, by the way. I'm a broadcast engineer here, and then I direct a lot of the broadcasts, both video board and the live side on network. But no, my freshman year in 2014, I went to a seminar, a journalism seminar. I was actually a writer at the time, and I was listening to Andy Young and Cassie Arner speak about kind of work production at the time, but really just what they had done in the past and games and events they've worked. And I was kind of the job in sports really intrigued me, so I reached out to Andy after the seminar. I was like, "Hey man, any way you can bring me on a little bit?" And he's like, "Actually, yeah, we're hiring. Come to the office in a week and we'll interview you." So I came through the office when it was actually just a bunch of plastic wrap and construction work. Came in 2 weeks later, I was scripting for basketball. It was that was it really. Nothing too exciting.
Nice. No, that's awesome. And I think what's pretty cool about this group is the four of you have, worked here and enjoyed it enough, at least, that you decided to stay and kind of give back. What's been maybe something that made you guys want to stay here? What made Auburn special? What made War Eagles production special that made you want to stay? And whoever can jump in.
Well, I know for me, I grew up a fan, so I've been an Auburn fan my whole life. And then to come kind of do behind the scenes, it was kind of surreal. So that's kind of what kept me here. But then obviously you build friendships, you progress in your career, you get to do linear games. And then obviously this last year, we got to do a lot of things we had never done before. So for me, that's kind of what drew me in and what kept me going. And obviously is what's helped me stay here today.
Yeah, mine's pretty easy as well. Just the people and the friends made. I mean, I never knew how close myself, Jake, Carter, and Blake would get, but spending almost 365 days with them, you get pretty dang close to these people. So kind of the friendships I grew with these guys made me want to stick around a little longer.
Yeah, I think you're definitely going to hear the same answers from everybody on this one, but it really is, as cliched as people talk about like family, it really is that. I know for me, both my mom and dad met in the band here at Auburn, and my aunt was the only female friend of Aubrey there's ever been. So it wasn't really a question of if I was coming to Auburn, it was kind of more of a win. But in the sense of staying around, it really is this group of, I would call family that's here. And it's such a great group to work with because you see each other through your best and your worst days, and wouldn't trade this group for anyone.
It's a funny thing. I remember I used to come to games much like everybody else did for my entire life. And I remember very distinctly being like 10 years old, maybe, and I was at a game and I remember watching a camera guy walk by, and this is the AUHD age. And my dad's like, how cool would it be to have that as a job? Turns out that guy was Doug. And here I am now getting to do the thing that as a 10-year-old I thought was the coolest job in the world, not knowing that I'd even have that as an opportunity. And just getting to do something that's objectively cool every day is pretty awesome.
Hey, Carter, I was waiting for you to say it was Blake that was the camera
It wasn't Blake. I'm sure Blake's the one who was screaming at him in his headset. Because little known fact, Blake is always echoing through the PA system in everyone's headset.
True.
And then Daniel, I'm just hurt you named everyone else on this podcast. So you didn't say anything about me. I just jumped change over.
Yeah.
No, but you talk about the family aspect, and one thing people don't talk about, they see the fun part of it, like, oh, you cover sports all the time, but I mean, this can be an absolute grind sometimes. But because of the people you're with, it's bearable. And you get those moments that make it rewarding. What's maybe one or two moments that stand out to any of you on, you look back and you'll go, I'll talk about that story forever because it was a moment that just sticks out in your mind of, we put in all this hard work, but at the end we got this awesome result.
When I was a student and I was doing live video at the time for football video board shows, I was working in the Northwest corner, and another student who works with Josh Williams had run the camera before me the year before, and he told me, he's like, there's this family in the corner. They get on the video board every game. That's my those are my people. I take care of them. You got to put them on the board every game. They got a streak going. And I did. and they're really good. They're good friends of mine. I did it every game. I kept the streak going for that entire season. So they got up to, I don't know, 14 games in a row at the time, straight, continuous, got on the board every time. And the mom, she reached out to me on Facebook. She became friends. And I remember the coolest thing that ever happened to me ever, and to this day is still the coolest thing that ever happened to me, is the game we played Georgia. It was the day before or the day after my birthday. And they always had a sign with them for some pun for some football players' name or whatever. And they brought happy birthday signs for me instead of players. And they gave me a little thermos with pictures that I had taken with them at every game. And I sat there on the sideline before a football game as a 21-year-old college student and cried my little eyes out. It was the coolest, I will never forget that. But it's the little things that we can do. Like, to put someone on the video board, it takes no effort. I just turn my body and focus. Like, that's no effort, but it's the world to them. And those things, it shows how special what we do and take for granted every day is to everybody else, I guess.
We'll have to ask Josh about that one when we talk to him.
Yeah, it's true. You will. Someone try to top that story.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm asking the questions and you guys have to follow that, not me.
Someone top that.
Good. Oddly enough, so I ran Northwest Handheld for a full year, and there was a family I put on the board every game, and that same family actually added me on Facebook and brought me a Tervis. No, I'm just joking. No, honestly, one of the more rewarding moments for me was probably the 2019 Iron Bowl. My first Iron Bowl directing the board show, and for those who remember, it ended on a little doink of a kick, and just remembering how nuts the control room went, and me and Jake having to try to not only calm ourselves down but calm the entire control room down, and still put on a show while literally everybody's screaming. I mean, it's hard to do stuff like that, but you kind of remember at that time, like, you're watching a game that'll be remembered forever with people that you'll forever remember being with. So for me, I mean, that was just an easy moment.
Well, you brought up that game. So going into halftime of that game, an extra second got added back. We got a chance for a field goal. We may or may not have had an angry reaction from a certain coach. I looked to David and I said, "Can I do this?" And he said, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "Go X." And that was one of the moments for me because I remember that crowd reaction. I'm always going to remember that. I think for me, it's probably that Iron Bowl and maybe the 2018 LSU game. I know it wasn't the outcome, but that was the first game I got to produce from the control room for football. A week before that, my daughter was born. So that whole week just kind of, I'll always remember as like, I went into that game going, what am I going to do? Like, I barely slept. I was like, do I even know what I'm doing at this point? And it was a great game. It's a game I'll always remember. I think it's easy. I remember when we won the regular season SEC title in basketball. I remember doing that game. Taking photos with everybody. The memories I hold are not necessarily in the games. It's outside of the game, or it's like in the control room before a game where you're cutting up, but you also know you're about to put on a good product. So that would probably be one of a couple of memories for me.
I think we'll all kind of say things that are with the Iron Bowl. And if you haven't experienced the Iron Bowl, there's like all the other games, and then there's just something different about it. There's a different intensity that I've never really been able to put into words. But one of my favorite memories is the 2013 Iron Bowl. Had a play that's pretty popular, pretty memorable.
Was that a big game?
I think it was a somewhat big game. And what was cool about it for me was I got to cut the post-game video. So we had an editor do it, but he finished it before the final drive started. And so that play happened. Everyone's freaking out. We run the touchdown back, and they start that video, and I haven't finished my part of it yet. And just that absolute adrenaline rush of everything that happened, and then the 2 minutes of his highlights of the day. And I literally finished that thing with maybe 10 seconds to go, and then calling out what's now famous, Rod Bramlett's call of that play. and like literally calling it out before it happens, to be one of the first people to put that experience out, because it was the first time everyone in the stadium that didn't have, the earbuds in heard it for the first time. Was the post-game hit, and hearing the crowd reacting to it and everything is a memory I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Blake, I know you just mentioned there's something different about the Iron Bowl, and that 2019 one was my first one. And walking into that stadium, you always hear the stories. I mean, I grew up in Arizona and went to school in Missouri and lived there for 10 years or whatever it was. But one of my best friends actually growing up is an Alabama fan, and so
I'm sorry.
yeah, that's all right. It was one of my best buddy when I played baseball, and I told him, I was like, hey, I got some good news, got some bad news. He goes, you going to go work at Arizona? Because he went to Arizona State. I go, no. He goes, you're going to work at Auburn, aren't you? I go, yeah. He goes, well, good luck. And he actually goes, you need to tell my dad. I'm not telling him. You're telling him. But that first Iron Bowl, there's that energy to it. And, the two moments you mentioned, Daniel, the field goal at the end, or, the extra second at the end of that first half, and then the end, I got to experience the end venue for that first half, because I spent the first half over there. And you're right, that reaction was unlike any other, even more so than the lead up to the game, and the energy that was built for that. And then I was actually in the hallway behind me here watching you guys at the end of that game, and just seeing that, for me as an observer, was really cool, because that game means more than all the other ones. And it was fun to see that and be a part of one of those rivalries that before that I'd always heard about, and like, oh, you got to go to it. You got to go to it. And to have that experience of actually not only, being there, but working for one of the teams, and the winning team that year was pretty special.
I think it's one of the reasons you come to a school like Auburn, because getting the chance. I remember not producing it, but just the first game or the first Iron Bowl I got to work. It was just even the feeling in the room was different. Like, it's a bigger game. It just means a lot in this state. So I think, obviously, looking back on it as kind of like Carter said, as a 10-year-old, if you told a 10-year-old me you're going to be working Iron Bowls, not just watching them, I would have said, what? Like, you're nuts.
It sounds like a dream. It's just not real.
Absolutely.
Now, outside of Iron Bowls, is there anything that you guys, moments
Mine wasn't
that
an
stand
Iron
up?
Bowl.
Sorry, Carter. You know what? Hey,
Mine
Carter's
was
got
Georgia.
Carter's got the best answer. We're going to stop the podcast now, Jake. Stop recording. We're done. We can't be any better than this. We'll see you guys in the following weeks for the next of these, okay? No, but I guess I'll start with. We'll go with this one, Blake. Since you've been here, the time that you had, you got to see the beginning of what is now War Eagle Productions. And I know it wasn't always glitz and glamour in those first few years. Maybe give folks watching kind of an idea of what was it like those early years as this program got built to what it is today.
Sure. This department has changed dramatically. When I started, we were in a little closet. We were pretty much forgotten about. They shut the water systems off at the end of football season. She did basketball and baseball season, trying to find a bathroom somewhere inside the stadium. Like, it wasn't the best, but we loved it. It was such a fun kind of ragtag group that all piled together to make things happen. And so to go from that, and going from football game day was a game day and that's it. You'd show up on the day of the game, you'd load the content, and that'd be it. To see where it has grown now, with both the start of War Eagle Productions as well as the SEC Network and everything else that's gone into that, you go from 10, 15 people doing a video board show to 50 people doing a video board show. You go from a couple cameras to 8 to 10 cameras, and you can have upwards of like 50 feeds and slow-mo, and you're building that content year round. And I know we're just talking football, but it's everything we do. It's not just this one thing. Like our focus used to be football game days. You do stuff in the arena, you do baseball, and that's it. Now I've lost count how many sports we do. So it's so much fun to be in this industry in the last decade and see where things were just 10 years ago to where they are now is simply amazing.
As you go on that growth aspect, and if anyone wants to jump in on this, go for it. But maybe it's a bad question. From your time here, what's maybe an area you guys have felt you've grown, and that maybe an area you're proud of that you've grown in that area?
Well, I started doing gripping for live productions, and then I did camera for live, and then I did directing for live, and now I work for post and don't do anything with live. So I've completely shifted my entire role and responsibility since I've been here, and now I'm the lead video person for football. Like, that's a heck of a jump. I remember when I first started doing post here, I was, to my knowledge at least, one of the youngest video leads for a men's basketball program in the country, at least at a Power 5 basketball program for sure. Like, just like the freedom that I've had here to just kind of do my thing and create and grow as a storyteller, that I don't think anybody else in the country has the opportunity to do what I've had the opportunity to do, and to test and to learn and to just be thrown to the wolves and see if I can make it. And somehow I've managed to keep going. I don't think anyone necessarily has as much freedom as I have, which has allowed me to grow exponentially, I think.
I know for me, it was, I'll never forget my first semester working, running Expression. I somehow put a slate on there in the middle of a game. And for those that don't know what a slate is, it's what you put up after the game, not in it. So to start there and to now, we got to do an ESPN basketball game this year, and that was kind of surreal. Getting to do it. I mean, the ESPN play-by-play and color analysts were ESPN people, but the rest of it was our crew. And to see, Blake was talking about the AUHD days, like to go from kind of that to you're producing an ESPN quality show. After the game, that was what I sat back and thought about, like, man, we have truly come a long way. And I know last year was challenging. It was tough for a lot of people. But I thought across the board, we had people step up in a lot of different ways and kind of accepted the challenge of, okay, we're going to be producing a lot of these linear network shows. How do we make it look like it's not a school? And that's a testament to this group, that we don't want there to be any clear notice of if it's a truck or if it's us. So that's kind of one of those moments I will always remember, is us getting to do an ESPN level show.
Good answer, Jake.
So no one wants to follow that. So we've got Carter and Jake that have made everyone silent after.
I've never been known to keep my mouth shut. So I will. That's
the truth.
So Blake and Daniel, you got to have an answer now that makes everyone go, yeah, no, I've got nothing.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, we need that profoundness from you guys.
Just try to keep up, guys.
Carter, Carter, do we have a joke of the day for us here on the podcast?
So earlier, I was singing. You know the song Wonderwall, right? Mm-hmm. So I was singing it around the house. I'm a bad singer, and my wife, she's like, you gotta stop singing Wonderwall. And you know what I said? I said, maybe.
Oh goodness.
Here, we'll go with this. We'll get us back on track here. One thing I've noticed from all of your guys' answers is the importance of flexibility, and not only your knowledge, but your skill set. Daniel, we'll start with you because you do engineering and directing and TDing, and everything in between, camera. And, how important is that flexibility when you work in an industry, and especially at a school where maybe some resources are limited and you have to kind of be that, jack of all trades?
Oh man, I think it's critically important. I mean, not only in what we do, I feel like in any industry, you need to know not only what you're doing, but how the others around you are also working. I mean, at the end of the day, we are a team. So if I can't help the guy next to me in what he's doing, or assist in any way, at some point we could easily get jammed, right? So I think the ability for anybody to just make sure they're multifaceted and multi-skilled is pretty important. But if I didn't have guys like Jake, Carter, and Blake also skilled in those roles, able to teach me, there's no reason the way I'd be here right now. That's for sure. But I think, Blake, you can easily attest to the same thing, being an engineer, director, producer.
Oh, for sure. And whatever I'm needed to do for the week. No, I was going to say one of the great things I think about working in this industry at the level we're at is you can do anything. You can work on anything. I think as you go, there's a lot of places where you can just be a cog in the machine, and you do the one job and that's kind of all you do. And if you want to grow, it's on you to figure it out somewhere else. But what's great here is you get such a wide variety. You can be directing an SEC network show one day. You can do a video board the next. You can go shoot a feature the next day, or you can go learn something brand new. I really think the flexibility we have here is fantastic.
Something I would say is to anybody coming in here is don't be afraid to learn a lot different things. Don't feel like, oh, I've just got to learn replay or I've just got to learn audio. I know for me, I kind of dove right into expression, and that was all I did for a while. And looking back, obviously it helped me get to where I am here now. But I would say don't be afraid to say, hey, I want to try expression, and then go observe replay one day. I think the more things you learn to do, it'll only make you better and only help you as you try to progress in your career, especially if you're trying to stay in the sports realm of what we're doing right now.
I would say, like, on the post side, I mean, I remember, I think Blake was there, if I'm not mistaken, the first time I ever shot, directed, conceptualized, led an intro video shoot. I got a call on Wednesday. The shoot was on Friday. I got a call on Wednesday saying, hey, what uniform do you want them to be wearing tonight? I said, well, it's Friday. It's not tonight. It's like, no, it's tonight. Okay, sure. And we just did it, and like, that's the world we live in. We're producing content for 16, 17, 20, whoever knows how many sports that play more or less all at the same time. And you never know what's going to happen. You never know what story's going to come out of it. You never know what player's going to go off, or what hype video you have to make, or highlight video, or what award or thing you have to pick up on Twitter. You just got to make and take advantage of every moment. And you can't take advantage of the moment unless you're prepared beforehand. But that's all we're waiting for, moments and storylines, and we just capture them and we try to tell them the best we can. But they happen right in front of us, and the quicker and better we can take advantage of them, the better our content is. That's
2 now for Carter, for those keeping track at home. No one had anything to say after.
He's got good sound bites. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm a storyteller. What do you want?
Speaking of storytelling, let's talk about the series we're doing a little bit. And I want to ask you guys, what are you most looking forward to from either talking to or hearing from some of the alumni that have come through here and have moved on and are doing some more things?
I mean, I know for me, I'm looking forward to seeing some of these people, because I haven't seen some of them since they've left here. I think another cool part for me is just to see where they're at. I mean, we have some people at Turner. We have some people at like CNN, replay for ESPN. So like, and then there's some that didn't even stay in the sports area, but they're still able to use stuff that they learned here and apply it. So for me, it's just getting to see some people I haven't got to catch up with in a long time, and then just hearing about what they're doing now and hearing some of their memories from their time here.
I'm also excited to hear the stories they're going to tell. I think, both their time away and their time here, there's a lot of great memories and things you tend to forget about until someone brings it back up. So I'm definitely interested to see where the series goes in that aspect.
What everyone's favorite Carter story is, things like that. No, it's fun. I mean, it's fun. The one thing that I've learned working in sports is the sports creative production community is a very tight-knit community, even though we don't really see each other very much because we're spread across the whole country. But just getting to know people has been the best part of working in the industry, but also just getting to work with so many people and knowing people, because someone who used to work here works there, and now I know someone else who works. It's just getting to hear from all those people that I haven't gotten to see or hear from in a while is pretty awesome. And hearing their favorite stories about me.
I often brag about my friends, to be honest. It's like Jake kind of mentioned it, but just seeing everybody that's come through here and where they're at, it's rare you get to one not only talk about it but publicly talk about it, right? And make sure everybody's aware of what our friends are doing. Because like Carter's saying, we got friends, I call them friends, coworkers, previous coworkers, who have gone from ESPN to Turner, gone from one school to the other, gone from Sanford to Ole Miss, come back to Auburn. I mean, we've had people do some pretty crazy things, so just getting to catch up with them, brag on them a little bit, be pretty cool.
Yeah, the network that you get from working in an industry like this is something I think is pretty cool. It's something I saw when I was at Missouri, and seeing that continue, here and other places that I've been. And when you get that group together and seeing them then go and grow, it's cool seeing where everyone goes and kind of get a feel for that. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Some of these people I didn't even work with much because I'm kind of the newer guy on the block. And so I'm looking forward to hearing some of those stories, like you guys said, and kind of learn a little bit of the history of this group as we move through these.
It was somebody said it, but there's stories from behind the scenes. So I'll take the host role for a second because I just want to hear. Obviously, a lot of us, most of us have worked your 15-inning baseball games. We've sat through rain delays at many sports. So, like, for each of you, what's one of those memories? Like, obviously, a rain delay is terrible, but sometimes there's funny moments behind it. So, what's a moment? Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
Go ahead, Carter. I got two.
Got it. Too. So I ran wireless camera at softball regionals in would have been 2016, 2017-ish. And I ran it for the second game that went to, I think, 4 or 5 extra innings. And I can't remember who it was who ran it before me, but the director, the linear ESPN director, right when the game ended, my shoulder was like dying. The wireless camera weighs about 1,000 pounds. I'm finally ready to rotate and get on a camera on sticks. And the ESPN director goes, "You know what, Carter, I like the way you ran that camera. Let's go ahead and do it for the game 3 as well." No, I'm good. And I sat there and I ran it. I think I ran a wireless camera for, I think it was upwards of like 20 innings of softball that day. And like, no time in between. like I thought I could barely lift my arm the next day. I thought I was gonna die.
They're funny now. At the time, I was very, very frustrated with myself. Both happened with football. So in my early years, I was a TD at the football show, so I pressed all the buttons. And we had one effect that is like a Coke effect, we call it. And it's like literally Coke just fills the entire screen as you go to out of town scores, sponsored by Coke. Well, I fat fingered a button, and instead of doing a regular replay effect, I had a Coke effect in the middle of action, just fill up the whole video board and reveal a replay. That was a bad one. And then a game later, literally the next game, there is a sack in the end zone, right? The ball comes loose, and I see one of our guys in defense running out with the ball in his hand. So I'm going nuts in my head, and I press the touchdown button before anybody says anything. Well, it was a safety, no touchdown. So I had touchdown flashing on the board for a solid, it felt like a minute and a half. It was probably like 5 seconds. It felt like forever.
At least it's not a big board.
Flashing. The board's pretty small. No, it was just a splashing touchdown for what felt like it forever while the whole control room just stares at me and screams, "It's a safety. It's a safety. Not a touchdown. It's a safety." And it's safe to say I had a conversation after with some people.
I know I have two that come to mind. One, I think it was 2017 softball regionals, and we also had baseball going at the same time. So one crew was doing the regional, and I was doing baseball. Well, the next day I was swapping, and I was going to do the regional. Well, it turns out the second game of that day didn't get to finish. So we came in, finished that game, played game 2. Game 3 went 14 innings, and then we still had another game. So I was like, baseball had been done for hours. They were home, and we still had a whole other game to do. So I remember that one. And then for me, it was the 2018 football season. I believe it was Southern Miss. There was a 3-hour lightning and rain delay. It was also homecoming. And so we had to figure out how to do homecoming because they didn't want them on the field. So they were on the far sideline, which at the time we barely had any camera coverage. And so we're trying to figure that out. So those are probably the two that I remember the most.
For me, I think that you mentioned the 15-inning game. I remember that one because that was one of my first games here back in 2019. And, it was one of those moments in the 9th inning. Auburn has a play at the plate. They call them safe. Celebrations happening. And I remember the whole control room going crazy. And my only thought was they're going to review this stupid thing. And it was a doubleheader. I can't remember. Was that game 1 or game 2 of the doubleheader? Game 2, wasn't it?
It was game
2. And so they go to review, and we're looking. We're like, they're going to call him out. Like, they're 100% going to call him out. They call him out, and we're like, okay, extra innings, fine. Which I'm a huge baseball guy, but it was at the same time, I'm like, man, free baseball is great when you're not working it. And so, back and forth game, Auburn, Arkansas. Arkansas scores 1 or 2 runs, and you're like, okay, this is feeling like, Arkansas is going to win it. Well, Auburn comes back, they tie it back up, and you're like, okay, here we go again. At this point, you're like, is there any pitching left? Like, what, and I'll never forget Daniel sitting there, I think like the 14th inning, goes, I hope this goes 20 innings. This is fun. I remember looking at him like, are you kidding me? I love baseball. I've already sat here for 23 innings today, Daniel. I don't need to go another 6. I spent more time in that chair that day than I think my bed the entire week.
That reminds me. I have a Daniel story.
And, it ends up going, 15 innings and, ends up being a great game. But I remember sitting there in that middle of that, I'm just like, Daniel, I'm not superstitious, just a little stitious. But, don't say stuff like that. If that would have went 20 innings, Daniel, we may not be here on this call together.
Parker is bad luck. He does more extra inning games than anybody else on the planet.
And that's why you don't say that stuff around me.
No, you're bad luck. But I think I don't think it was the first linear broadcast, like ESPN broadcast I did, but it was up there. It was early in my career as a camera op. And I had just finished doing a digital show at baseball, and we had broke down all the cameras at baseball, and we put them in the storage shed or wherever we were putting them. And I was getting in my car to go home, and I got a call and said, hey, what you doing? About to go home. It's like, you want to go over to softball and run camera? Daniel's got the stomach bug. And I said, sure, I guess I'll run camera. And when I tell you this man was this color white when I got there, he looked like he had seen a ghost. I thought he was gonna die. I was like, just go home. I'll run camera. What camera were you on? He said, I'm with the outfield over there at camera 4. I'll just run the main. I'm like, okay, great. That's the one furthest away. Wonderful. And the national anthem starts behind me, and I hoof it over to the outfield. I don't think I've been on a show for less amount of time in my life because I got there as like first pitch was going. But Daniel was looking rough. It was like my first time doing a linear show. Darn stomach bug and pizza, man. I'll do it for you. Of course, Daniel decided to eat pizza knowing he wasn't feeling well, but who's surprised?
That's on him at that point.
Yeah, right.
Do you guys remember the year we did homecoming and we didn't know who was the winner and it ended up being someone? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, it's kind of a closely guarded trade secret who the winner of homecoming is here. Like, it's a big, like, even in our control room, we don't ever like shout out who it is. It's like you write on a piece of paper and hand it to people. Well, they tell us
a briefcase and a handcuff.
Yeah, it's like a big, for some reason, that's the big secret every year. But so we have who we think is supposed to be the winner. And all the girls, like, they come out, they march down, and they go to read the winner. And the winner was not one of the choices of the girls that were out there. So poor Rick Smith, our PA guy, goes to read. He's like, and the winner of the 2000 whatever Miss Homecoming, and he goes, looks down, and you could tell he just waited for like 45 seconds, and we're all like, what's going on? They're like, it's not the right person. So I think someone just said, pick somebody. I don't know. I don't think that's what actually happened. I think they figured it out. But
so I don't think it might have been 2017 because I remember the next year going, I don't care what we have to do. We have to know the name before it's announced. Like, we can't do this again.
Oh, very own Oscars moment.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, guys, it's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to, doing some of these. Hopefully you guys have me back. We'll see how that goes. But looking forward to seeing the rest of these, and I appreciate you guys taking the time and chatting with us a little bit today.
Absolutely.
It's fun.
War Eagle, guys.
War Eagle, y'all.